Salvete discipuli. Today we're going to be finishing up chapter 11, and that means we're going to be talking about prepositions today. So you are going to need to be on page 74 in your books, and we're going to get started with vocabulary as usual. We're going to pronounce this list one more time just to get it really secure in our heads and follow along as I pronounce. Here we go. Castra, castrorum, miles, militis, scriba, scribae, toga, togai, curo, curere, cucuri, cursum, circumdo, circumdare, circumdedi, circumdatum, dico, dicere, dixi, dictum, gero, gerere, gessi, gestum, mito, mitere, missi, missum, peto, petere, petui, petitum, pono, ponere, posui, positum, probo, probare, probavi, probatum, teneo, tenere, tenui, tentum, carus, cara, carum, dexter, dextra, dextrum. And in just a minute, we're going to go over the prepositions again. But before we do that, I want you to take a look at the verbs in this list. And just a reminder, on your quiz in the next lesson, you will have to be able to tell the difference between first, second, and third conjugation verbs. So I'm going to review that real quickly with you before we move on to prepositions. So in your vocabulary list this week, in the verb section, most of them are actually third conjugation, which is going to mean that when you find the stem, you are going to be left with an E without a long mark at the end of your stem. So a good example is just the very first verb, curo, curere. To find the stem, you would go to the second form and take off the RE. You're left with cure with an E at the end that does not have a long mark. And so that is going to be third conjugation. And you use your new third conjugation endings for those. The very second word is circumdo, circumdare, and that is going to be a good example of a first conjugation verb because that stem, circumda, is going to end in an A. That tells you that it's first conjugation. And the only second conjugation word that we have this week is the very last verb, teneo, tenere. And when you find that stem, the stem is tene, but that E at the end does have a long mark. And so that's going to tell you that you're in second conjugation and you don't use the new third conjugation endings. So make sure that you know how to tell the difference between those and you should be good to go. Now let's take a look at our prepositions. This is the Part B list on page 75. We're going to go through and pronounce them real quickly and then just talk about them. So here we go. Odd, a or ob, cum, de, a or x, in, pair, pro, sub, and trans. And in this list, you'll notice that there are parentheses next to each preposition. And in those parentheses is listed either one or two cases. You'll see either accusative, ablative, or in some cases you might see both. So what that means is you've got a preposition, and so then therefore you're obviously going to have an object of the preposition. And those parentheses tell you what case your object of the preposition is going to be in. So let's look at the very first preposition as an example. The first one is odd, and it means to, toward, near, or at. Most of the time, you're just going to translate this one as to. And in parentheses, you'll see plus accusative. So what that means is in a sentence, you might see odd plus another word that's going to be the object of the preposition, right? If you have to something or toward something, you need to know what the ending of that phrase is. So maybe you might say to the store as part of your sentence. And so to the store, you would say odd, and then whatever store would be in Latin, I actually don't know. Whatever it would be, you would put it in the accusative case because odd has to take its object of the preposition in the accusative case. So basically that's all that those parentheses mean. It's just going to tell you what case the word after your preposition is going to be in. Look at the next one, ah or ob. And ah or ob is a really interesting word. It's the same word, but it's spelled two different ways. And that is just very similar to the word that we use in English, a or an. And so you would use a if your next word starts with a consonant. You would use an if your next word starts with a vowel. Same thing here. So ah or ob, you might see one of those in your sentence. Another example of that is a or x. Down further on the line, same thing. That's the same word. You might just see one version or the other. So look back up at ah or ob, and you'll see plus ablative in the parentheses. So that means the object of the preposition, whenever you have from or away from, is going to be in the ablative case. That's all that means. The tricky part is where you see two different cases in parentheses. So an example of this I want you to look at is in. It's right below a or x. And if you look at in, it has two versions to it. So it says in plus accusative means into, and then you see plus ablative in or on. So there's a couple of prepositions like this where the object of the preposition is going to determine how you translate this word. So for example, if you see in and an accusative word right after it, you would translate it into. If you see in with an ablative word after it, you would translate it just in or on. Another example of this is sub, down there towards the bottom of the list. Sub plus accusative means up to. And so if you see sub plus an accusative word right after it, you're going to translate it up to. And if you see it with an ablative word, you're going to translate it under. So you've got some different definitions there. The main thing about prepositions that you need to know is whatever is in parentheses afterward, accusative or ablative, that's what case your object of the preposition is going to be in. For your assignment for today, it's pretty simple. You're going to need to be on page 77 in your books for the first part, and then you'll go back to the vocab list for the second part. There's actually two parts to your assignment today, so make sure that you look at both of those and not just one. So for the first part, if you look at page 77, there are several different uses of the ablative case listed in bold. And what you're going to do is you're just going to read through those and give me the definition that's right there underneath the bold. So I want you to define each of those phrases, and they're just different uses of the ablative case. We've done some of these already, so you might see something like ablative of means or ablative of manner. You've done those already, so we've gone through some uses of the ablative case, but there are several more which you see on page 77. So you're going to go through and define each of those. And then the second part of your assignment today is actually going to be back on page 75 at the vocab list. And you're just going to do a little bit of matching, telling me which preposition means what. And so if you look at that and you're confused or have any questions, as always, feel free to let me know and we can work through it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Walete discipuli.